Welcome back. It is 6:17 this Thursday morning. Going to bring you to a live look, and we are in downtown Oakville this morning. We are waiting for the snow, and yes, it indeed is expected to be falling a little bit later on. A chilly February morning, but temperatures here may be par for the course for this time of year. But a winter storm that swept through the U.S. and terrorizing states like Texas, that's a very different story. Let's bring in our Frank Ferragini here who's going to break down what we've been watching in the U.S., Frank. So a different system from what we're seeing here and what we're expecting, but it's having significant impacts. Mike Apple was talking about gas prices and how that's going to change things. And you're watching a different angle to it as well. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. So first off, the cold weather that we saw earlier this week, we're warming up today, is all a part of that same Arctic air blast that they got through Texas. You know, they call it in the U.S. a polar vortex, but really it's just the jet stream that hangs a little bit lower, hanged a lot lower, and with that really stuck in one position. So the duration of cold is one thing. So we already know, Apple was telling us about the impacts of that on power and power supply to the oil industry. The other power supply is for the food security of the state of Texas. Population, state of Texas, just under 30 million. Population of Canada, just over 30 million. So the food supply, number one, dairy producers right now are not being able to produce their dairy because there's no power. The other aspect of that too is with produce, they're calling it the St. Valentine's Day Massacre in terms of leafy greens, where many of them were frozen. Good news is 80% of their citrus production was already harvested, but a lot of the trees now are concerned. What happens is farmers will put irrigation systems on to protect the trees, but it was so cold that instead of protecting, it froze the trees. And there's even some farmers today that are growing citrus that are saying some of the grapefruit that was still hanging on the vine froze solid. So this could affect produce prices here at home as we send some supply down in towards Texas from other areas of the country of the United States, of course. Even some carrots from here could go down into there. So our produce prices could go up. And then the long-term effects of these trees that are there could, we really don't know the impacts for quite some time. And then you have dairy, the ranchers. We all hear about the Texas ranchers. Well, they're having problems right now getting food for their cattle.
So the Texas Agriculture Commissioner, in a statement yesterday, so this is just part of the statement saying, I'm issuing a red alert regarding agriculture and our food supply chain here in the state. I'm getting calls from farmers, ranchers, as you mentioned, across the state, reporting that the interruptions in electricity and natural gas, a devastating effect on their operations. So they are already seeing unable to get shipments of dairy products. As you said, a lot of store shelves already empty. That food supply chain, as you mentioned here, is going to be an ongoing issue, something that they've never seen before. And that's a quote. So, you know, sorry, go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, the last time we saw temperatures cold like this was back in 1989, but not this cold for not this long. And the infrastructure damage that happened, because the infrastructure is just not built for the cold conditions, but also with some of the freezing rain that they saw. The infrastructure that has been damaged for power and electricity, the wind turbines that are there are frozen. They can't even spin the wind turbines because they're frozen.
It's wild. You're seeing people rush to get propane, and then there are warnings of carbon monoxide poisonings. So we'll be watching this story for some time, absolutely. But thank you for watching it on this front, Frankie.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so 6:21 is your time right now. We're going to take a quick break. Coming up next, we're going to learn about some new research from Pfizer. It suggests its vaccine might not offer much protection against one of the highly contagious virus variants. So we're going to tell you more about this one after the break.